Hiki hikitia, ria ria kina. Hapa hapa inga, ranga ranga hiya. Te hoku take take o tōku a wahatanga. Mauri tu, mauri tangata, tihei mauri ora.
No mai, haere mai, welcome to Rangai, our beautiful studio here in Turanganui, Kiwa, Gisborne. We've got some amazing guests on the couch. Ko Shannon Dowson taku ingoa.
Ko Te Hira toku ingoa. Ko Panapa Ehau awau.
Ko Daniel Croskery taku ingoa.
Kia ora. So, let's meet our guests and jump straight into it. Would you like to introduce yourself, Panapa?
Tēnā tātou, tēnā koe te rangatira. Ko au te o he uri o Māui, o Hukirangi, o Ngāti Wē Poatu, o Ngāti Porou, ko Panapa Ehau ahau. So I hail from the centre of the universe, Ruatoria, under the auspicious maunga of our tipuna Hukirangi. Father of 4, 11 down to 4 years old, and get into a whole lot of Māuitanga or mischief around how we increase well-being of our whānau and our whenua. So yeah.
Kia ora. Big family, eh?
Yeah. We're on show day today, so it's been full noise.
No troubles at the show?
Not that I saw, or not that I wanted to see.
No car troubles even?
Yeah. I don't know if that's car troubles or me being the trouble for the car.
Yeah.
Kia ora.
Yeah. Kia ora. How about yourself?
Ko whakapuna ki te maunga, ko hangoroa, ko roki turi me kai tarahei ki raro, ko hini ko rako te tipoa, te kaitiaki o nā iwi, ko te renga te marae, ko Ngāti Hine Heka, ko ngā kohatu te hapu. Whakapapatu, ronga whakata, te renga, Kanuni ki Wairo and ronga mawahine, local born and bred. Involved in the Gisborne Board Riders, obviously, as the president or the chairman and head coach, and I'm also a clinical specialist in mental health in the community.
Awesome.
Yeah, and study full time and got 5 kids and loving life. That's
amazing. Cool. Hey, so we've invited you in to sort of chat about who you are, what you do. We know you've got a couple of amazing companies under you, Panapa. Do you want to give us a little bit of an overview of what you do and why you do it?
Yeah, I think probably the why is that's the underpinning thing, like kind of carry whakaaro from our tipuna, and it goes back to a time when I was maybe 4 or 5 on our local marae, and I can't remember who the kuia were, but there was a couple of white-haired kuia that I remember them, and it was like they were saying it to me, but I was just standing there in small, but they were actually talking to someone behind me, and they were saying, all you have to do is make sure that you leave whatever you're given better than when you got it, or at the very least, don't make it worse. So I've always carried that through, and so that's one of the I guess whakatauki, or one of the po that I hold on to. Always knowing that I've gone away. I grew up here. I grew up in Ruatoria. And Tūranga, went to Kura here, went away went a little bit overseas, around the motu, doing a few bits and pieces, picking up some tohu, but was always coming home to have my kids, and always knew we were going to give back to increasing the well-being of our people, based on that kōrero from those kuia. So, done a whole lot of stuff, threw a whole lot of mud against the wall, some of it sticks, some of it falls off, but was always kind of born with this innate, innate confidence. It's that kind of thing, people say fake it till you make it. It's not necessarily that, but just knowing that we're just going to keep going because we're here forever. Like, we've been here forever, our tipuna have been here forever, and while we might live in this physical body, we've got our 4 and 5 kids, they'll be here, and then and then their grandkids. So all we have to do is make it a little bit better than what we got it to pass it on. So that really underpins all the mahi. So I moved home about 10 years ago to have my kids. We started having kids, and we wanted to keep that ahi ka line strong. Of my whānau, of my grandparents, it was only my father who returned home after the urban drift to have his kids, and I've been the only one who's come home out of all the cousins. My brother's come home now, but to have kids to continue that line. So we came home, got into the community, into the local community, moved back to Ruatoria, and was just like, what can we lean into? And as many of you will know, or a lot of us know, that if you go away and come home, you got to earn your stripes. So earn the stripes and then just lent into things. And some of the big things have been around, like, and they might sound like they're silos, but no one thing will uplift people or uplift the whenua. Everything's connected. So te rā te whakaaro Māori, that everything's all interconnected. And so we've done stuff around economic development, rangatahi development, whenua development, housing, kai. Because if you only do one, it's kind of that tall poppy thing. Like, it's not so much how people pull us down, but one can't grow. Like one tree doesn't make a forest. But if you look after a whole lot of things, and it's not saying we're definitely, and I've definitely not been no shining knight coming on a white horse. You know, it's just if we all do our little bits that lift the baseline, then it's going to be better for the next generation. We're not trying to save the world. We're just trying to do that little bit better for the next thing. So. Yeah, just like the bro walking headstand, always trying to get that balance right of like having too many hats. But yeah, it's just being part of an awesome community, backing people, empowering them, being empowered by them to have a crack at doing stuff. Like, if you don't like what's going on around you, then do something different. And you know, we always refer to Maui. Maui didn't take the status quo. He was always in the peripheral. He was always pushing stuff. I imagine that he was always getting wrapped over the knuckles by his aunties and his nannies. So, yeah, if you're not in trouble pushing the limits, then you're probably not doing the right thing.
Kia ora.
Yeah, so a little bit about what you do, Dan, and why you do it.
So, yeah, I guess with the Gisborne Board Riders, I was like Panapa. I went away overseas and came back in 2018 after being away for 20 years. Started off with a bit of a surfing career, and then and did my sort of time overseas and got some tohus and some skills, and come back to bring my daughter back here. And I guess the Gisborne Board Riders was going through a transitional stage because, you know, the Gisborne Board Riders was established in 1964. And it's, you know, it's been a very successful club throughout the years. We've had, you know, national success, international success, and there was a really strong period through the 60s, 70s, 80s, 90s, early 2000s, and then it sort of went a bit wayward. And you know, no disrespect, but it was really quite a Pākehā-dominated club. There was a lot of Māori surfing back in the sort of late 80s, early 90s, you know, the Fowles and the Dailies and Broughton's and Shane Ginders and a whole heap of Māori, so it was pretty cool. So I came back, and a German had taken over the club as a development officer. And I sort of had a bit of a cordial with him, and my whole thing coming from mental health and what I'm involved in now is that I wanted surf therapy, because I knew, as Panapa would know, that surfing has been a saviour for us, especially with our hingingaro and our tinana. That has probably given us a little bit of edge over most people, because we can go into the ocean and we can wash, get that blessing from Tangaroa, and you know, we can leave our troubles on the beach. So I was really focused on that. And I went to a meeting, and I went into that meeting just to have a sort of a listen, because I come from a longboarding background. I wanted to start my own club up, but he just said, no, I'm all about that, come and have a listen. Anyway, I went to that meeting and I walked out as the president. I got nominated, sideswiped. My old man was like, what are you doing? I said, oh, I don't even know. But anyway, but the cordial that I had from him was that we wanted to shift away from the contest-dominated scene. We wanted to create a community initiative base. You know what I mean? And my focus and our focus was to give rangatahi and tamariki that are disadvantaged or underprivileged, and no fault of their own, decel, or you know, with the social economic or whatever, to be able to give them an opportunity to take up surfing and get the benefits that come with surfing. So that's what we've done over the last sort of 4 years. We've sort of focused on that, more of the community-based initiative stuff. You know, we have Surf for Life, Tūranga Nui a Kiwi, we have Surf for Life up the coast. And we have, you know, surfing for farmers, we have the Little Rippers programs. So we have a lot of community-based initiatives, but we're not a surf school. That's the difference between us. We're not a surf school. We're here to offer initiatives for certain people, but we're not a surf school as such. So, you know, we've been doing really well in the community, and yeah, we keep pumping. A big focus for us, and which is close to our heart, is the initiative for Up the Coast, our Surf for Life Up the Coast, which has been huge success, and we've got some funding based around that, where we can have a kōrero about that a little bit later. But yeah, no, look, super busy like him. Wear poor ties everywhere, trying to find that balance between work, life, family balance, and whānau. But I guess he's like me. If we stop, what do? So we just keep going, and my partner, you know, rumours this is me, is like a mouse on the wheel. Just bah, 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 bah. you know, mouse on the wheel. Get off the wheel, get off the wheel.
It's a surf pumped all the time.
Yeah. No, yeah, I get off the wheel to go surfing. There's no qualms about that. But yeah, no, that's basically where I'm at the moment.
So you surf as well?
Yeah, like been since that big.
Awesome. And your brother, eh?
Yeah.
You see him at the comps?
Yeah, not at the comps. I just see them out
yeah.
around the spots.
I remember the only comp that I ever, maybe younger than that, like, was it 98?
Yeah, 97, 98. Yeah, I was there. Yeah.
And anyway, the first time I've been in a comp and turned up early in the day, this is when all the heat's going to be, and it was, it's only been in a comp. What time do you reckon that'll be? It'll be probably about 10:30 or something. So buggered off and came back about 10 and got back. It was like, no, your heat's in the water. And I was like, hey? It's not supposed to start for another 45 minutes. Oh no, it's in the water now. So like paddled out, got one wave, got the highest scoring wave, but didn't have enough time to get two waves. And I was like, never mind this comp stuff. We shot up the coast and went surfing. It was like, so that was the end of comps. Apart from doing a big wave comp that Dougie Young set up, Papa's XL, which ain't about competing against each other for numbers. It's just like who's going to go deepest.
Yeah, that's right.
Pretty much. Yeah. So yeah, absolutely love it. It's like the bro said, it's the thing that you can escape everything. It washes all the mamai away, it heals.
Recenters.
All that thing, and there's heaps of kōrero in the surfing world, around the whole world, that only a surfer knows the feeling, and that generally attributes to like riding the wave or getting barrel, but it's actually it's a wider piece than that. Like, you know, there's other sports where you can get glimpses of it that I've seen, but like, it doesn't matter. You don't have to be good to be the best surfer in the water. It's like when I look in the lineup, it's whoever's enjoying themselves, or they have this thing called the wave magnet. Like some days you do got it, some days you don't. It just doesn't matter where you are. The wave comes to you that gives you. It's almost, I'm not religious, but gives you that blessing of like, you're mean, and you just. Sometimes you don't even have to turn. You just go down the wave, and you're just like, wow.
Yeah, it's that spiritual element. I tell you, that connections, like most other sports. Yeah, it's an individual sport, but there's how many other sports have a spiritual connection to the ocean? You know what I mean? Waka ama might have, but you know, it's a different buzz again. You know, the surfing, especially when you get in the tube, or you know, it's like a wave of emotions too. You know, it comes with everything.
I spent a lot of years surfing during my childhood, and for some reason I've lost it. Right, like now when I go in the water, I typically surf alone because I'm trying to fit it in around a busy schedule. I maybe get out like once every few months now because I'm like just pumped for time. And then when I get out in the water, I get into this weird headspace where I'm always challenging myself. I'm better than this. Why doesn't it happen for me? Like, what's the environment like at like club level for just getting involved and doing more?
Yeah, look,
but outside of competition.
Outside competition. So competition aside, look, you know, we try and have Gisborne Board Riders with an open door. You know, come and have a go. Clubs are usually based around the sort of competition stuff, and we've got pathways there that we provide, and scholarships for kids. You know, if they don't, you know, have the money or whatever, you know, we provide all that and the free coaching. And you know, we have a few kids from up the coast that drive. You know, their parents drive them all the way down from Ruatoria to come and do one of our coaching sessions on a Wednesday. So we're just like, well, we're going to give you all this for nothing because, you're showing dedication to drive from Ruatoria, your children down here to come and participate. So, we offer them around that sort of stuff, we got to offer you that sort of whānau that are committed sort of like that. But look, our comps are always fun, family friendly and orientated if you want to get into that. Our initiatives, the wahinis can come down and have a go, with a bit of a wine and a cheese, the Surf for Life kids.
So are you saying I can't have a wine and a cheese?
Yeah, no, us males don't offer wine and cheese. It's mainly through our women initiatives that are run by them. They have their sort of get together, away from the men.
They're better prepared than we are.
They're a lot more organised, that's for sure. Look, it's the club's always got an open door policy and welcoming, and we'd like to see more rangatahi and tamariki come through and families, but we're getting that up the coast. Like it's amazing what we're getting up the coast from our whānau up there. So we're behind them 110%. So.
Yeah. So you've got the amazing initiative that you've put through Trust Te Tairāwhiti recently, haven't you, with through the sports facility strategy. Do you want to tell us a little bit more about that? Yeah,
look, we came up with a plan to, we've been going up there for the last sort of few years just on our own backs, just to, obviously promote the whole surfing, Surf for Life stuff and the benefits of surfing, but getting the whole family involved, the physical and the mental benefits of it. And what we've really got, the kōrero from up the coast is that all families are coming down. The kids are off their Xboxes, they're not gaming, they're getting involved, they're coming down, dad's having a surf, mum's having a surf, brothers are having surf, sisters are having surf, nannies are down there trying to have a surf. I mean, like, this is what it's all about, this is where my heart is, and I get the most rewards seeing that. So we put a plan to the trust, and they're all about, if you're going to do something, do it big. We don't want to muck around with these little piddly things. So, we'll come at you then. It took us a while, to be honest, to get it across the line. They make, I'm going to be honest, they make you jump through hoops and, dot your T's and cross your I's, which we're more than capable of doing, but there's always something else, and then there's always something else. And then over the 2-year period where we said, well, we're doing this no matter what. So if you're going to jump on our waka, then kapai, and they finally sort of said, yep, we can have some funding. So now we're in the process where we've got 3 containers to go up the coast at Tokomaru Bay, Wharekaheke and Waipiro Bay. So we had to make sure that we got the consents from there. We got the maraes to sign some documentation so we can have it on there. And our whole focus was that they'd have their own containers with all the boards and wetsuits. They'd run their own initiatives. We get whānau champions. We walk beside them. We put them through coaching. We teach them how to run their own initiatives, and then they can get paid through their own initiatives. You know what I mean? They can start up something like surfing for loggers. Like we do surfing for farmers here. Plenty of loggers up there that need some sort of help around mental health and and getaways. So that's where we're at the moment. It's just putting it all together, and we're about to kick off in November with our first wānanga of the year. We're just getting that I think up at Tokomaru Bay, we're just getting that all over the line now.
Awesome. Yeah, it sounds amazing. You mentioned in your kōrero that you do that you've been sort of working to elevate rangatahi as one of your po alongside the environment and the housing initiatives. What is it that you're doing with rangatahi?
Over the years, we've done a whole lot through different entities doing different things. So, RUA Bio is a medicinal cannabis company that we've set up, and part of that, just like some of the mahi that you're doing within your business, is that we know that the skills required for some of the mahi that we do don't exist in region, and so we need to develop pathways for rangatahi to be able to go through to be able to gain the necessary skills and experience. And so last year, the year before, we implemented like a capacity development program where there was scholarships to get university, tertiary scholarships, secondary scholarships, awards that were given to rangatahi. You kind of know the pathway that you're interested in, so you actually have to get them when they're younger. You have to get them in year like nine or 10 and start, because by that time you're making decisions about what you want to do. So we do a whole lot of industry exposure stuff where, like in our facilities that we've built, we bring them through and it's like, you can live in Te Tairāwhiti and do this science stuff and you can earn salaries that are like this rather than what a lot of our whānau, they're only exposed to handfuls of primary, and it's not saying that those are bad industries like forestry, etc., to be in, but there's more than that. And so it's just the exposure part. Just like with the surfing stuff, if you're not exposed to it, you don't know what it's like. And so we've done that locally, and then we've got a whole lot of partners and a whole lot of organisations that we have all around the country, whether it's universities or Crown Research Institutes or private companies or a whole plethora. And so in a lot of the conversations when we bring in services, we say, yep, we're keen to engage you for your services, but we want to make sure that can we send some of our rangatahi to you. So even if it's just for 2 hours or half a day to just be like, oh, what do you do? Oh, we're lawyers and this is what we do. Or I'm an engineer and this is what I do. Or I'm a mad scientist in the university laboratory. It's like, oh yeah, bro, I could do some of that. Yeah. And so it's just exposing them so that they know that there's more opportunities. And for example, we recently had a crew, I think 9 rangatahi from Ngata College. They went up to Tamaki over, I think, 3 or 4 days, and they went to like ESR, plant food research, and universities.
Wow!
And one of the wahine that went, she was in, I think she's in either year 12 or 13, and she was just going to go to Polytech, and I don't know what she was going to do, but it was not going to be level 5. And she was like, actually, university ain't that scary. And now she applied, she's got a scholarship, and she's away, she's got her first year paid for.
Damn.
So, and it was just because of the exposure. So that's one pathway that we've done around rangatahi. Within Hikurangi Enterprises, which the cannabis company came out of, we recognised early on that like governance in Te Ao Māori is really thin, especially wahine and especially younger. Like New Zealand Inc. excels when you have Māori whakaaro in governance. So we were developing ourselves in the governance space, but we saw some koi as rangatahi, which are literally like Pākeke trapped in rangatahi's bodies, that we could see that if all we did was give them some years of experience, then they'd gain that belief in themselves. Yeah. They'd gain skills that you don't usually get until you're in your like 30s or 40s and starting to go into governance space. And they've actually got a huge amount. Rangatahi have so much to offer because they're the ones, if you've got rangatahi making decisions now, they're the ones that are going to be the leaders in 10, 20 years' time. So we had the likes of Hunara Warehu from Tiki Tiki. He came on to Hikurangi Enterprises board as an observer or a rangatahi rep from the age 16. He couldn't legally become a director until 18. As soon as he turned 18, he's been a director. He's been there for 3 years. He now has his own company. I think he's 2021. He's got his own company that he consults to some big companies around the country, and he sits on a number of boards. Wow. And that was all. That's him, and that's the ngākau that he has. It's the ability for him to understand and disseminate and kōrero, but it really came from the ability to be exposed to that kind of stuff. So once other people saw us, that we had him on, oh, he can jump onto our one too. And then we introduced him to some of, like, example, he consults, he's a cultural advisor for a finance company in Auckland, in Queenstown, Auckland, and he's their advisor. Wow. And that just came from, oh, these guys raised some funds for us, so you said when we did this that you'd take on some of our rangatahi, here's our rangatahi. Now he gets paid good bank to advise them on Te Ao Māori and rangatahi space. So, and that's in the space of like 5 years.
Amazing.
From just seeing a little bit of, well, not a little bit, a lot of talent, but being able to see something and nurture it. And, you know, when you talked about having when Nan comes down to the beach, it's that whole kind of thing is that when you get the elder ones that can see you've got a little bit of something in you, and all you actually need is a little bit of awhi around it. Like seeds don't grow without a little bit of water and a little bit of soil. Yeah. And I think that, you know, that ability to put them in a space where they can pop and they can grow. So yeah, you know, like love the whakaaro of literally taking in your container, you've got the water and the soil, you've got the means to make it happen and the flourishment happens. So those are a couple of examples of what we're doing in the Rangatahi space.
That's amazing.
And that's kind of the tihi of what we do. It's like, if we're doing that, it's like we're cracking it.
Yeah.
Even if the business stuff is taking longer or harder or left or right as business does, that if we're doing that, then we've made a half generation of impact.
Yeah, look, that one story makes it worth it, right? Yeah. And on that note, I should probably stop putting shade all over my young man here and let him ask them questions. Let the forest grow.
I was just going to elaborate more on kind of like, not institutions, but like people, like some of the elders in our community and the kaumātua and the marae that have all this knowledge and experience, and looking at the rangatahi and the generations coming through and seeing an opportunity, like to kind of, but also a responsibility to kind of give them what you guys have learnt and what you know. So like, yeah, just good on you for doing that. But also, yeah, how in terms of rangatahi stepping up, like, how has that been in your guys' fields?
You know what? Within the surfing, I guess it's been a little bit tougher, so we've got the opportunities, but I guess depending on where the rangatahi is, like they're at the age where they move out of town or they want to pursue other things. So up the coast, you know, where there's some that, you know, we're trying to give opportunities to make them become coaches so they can actually get paid for doing their mahi and passing it on. Same with the likes of here. We offer those, you know, where we pay for the coaching certificates and then we try and get them to do their time and get paid to do some coaching with all our initiatives, because we're actually at full capacity and we just don't have enough coaches to be able to do more in our space. We're right at the limit, which is, you know, unfortunate, but yeah, just trying to get the rangatahi to either stay here, which is hard because, you know, I was young once and the only thing I wanted to do was get out. So, you know, we understand, and I guess for us is just to always be here, and when people want that opportunity, that we give them the opportunities that they deserve. And I think with, you know, what Panapa said, like within us and governance, we're looking at the opportunity to get the rangatahi in, because the rangatahi voice is huge, because even though we were rangatahi once, that was a long time ago. So we might think that we're still in touch with the rangatahi, but we're so far out, like, I don't want to be that old. Am I that old guy now? So, we're the old buggers now, so I'm like, am I that guy? But yeah, so not enough, you know, full credit, and we know within ourselves, strong governance is so important. And not every company has it. And the ones that are successful is because they've got a strong governance and they understand the meaning between governance and operations. So having a strong governance team and understanding everyone's strengths and working together and having a rangatahi on is really important, and that's where we're going to. So yeah, we can only offer stuff there that, you know, we'll always take a rangatahi on if they want to get involved into the surfing scene, so our doors are always open. Yeah.
I think probably one of the big things I've seen through, like, especially through the board riders, because like with, you know, you have your whānau, and we've seen the development in some of the rangatahi of the same kind isn't specifically for the other fields of their life. The confidence, the development isn't specifically for the other fields of their life. The confidence that you get in the water in Tangaroa, because that's what we know, it emulates out into other things. Like, singular thing, it's a singular relationship with an entity. Like, it is a singular thing, it's a singular relationship with an entity. Like, it's my relationship with the moana, and you develop confidence in that. So like, to go from someone who might be 11, 12, just getting into surfing, just getting exposed to it, to maybe 2 or 3 years later being like, can paddle from here to anywhere, and they do it every day while we're all working and carrying all the portai stands. They're going, you know, they're going hard. That confidence, like, gives so much beyond playing an Xbox, beyond, and it doesn't have to be surfing, but I've seen personally some of the rangatahi that are around my kids that have been through the programs that have been done through the board riders, and they're flying. You know, they've taken those learnings and put them into other things, and so yeah, there's multitudes of ways that rangatahi can be developed, and it's not singular. It's not just a singular thing.
Yeah, no, you're true like that. And even like power to weight ratio board that suits them. So that's why we come along and we put the big boards. So no matter how big or small you are, you know, I've coached hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of people, and I haven't had anyone not stand up. It's because I've always had the right equipment to give them that encouragement. And I've seen young rangatahi that would just be so shy, and then all of a sudden, you know, they're standing up and they're surfing, and they're just it's just another level. You know, the smiles on their faces make it all worthwhile. You know what I mean? And the confidence, like he said, and he's right. He tapped on. There's so many other variables there. Yeah. But that's why we do it, is to see them get the confidence and do something they didn't think they could do, you know. So that's where all the
I think it's pretty special in surfing too. And I don't know, you've probably like picked like a good bro for me to sit next to, because I love surfing, you know. But that whole kind of thing, and we spoke before we started recording, is that in my mind the best surfer is the person who's having the most fun on any day. So it doesn't actually matter how long you've been surfing or what your skill level is, because the buzz for someone who on their first day who stands up and goes along, and then you'll see someone like us who surfed for most of our lives, and like they're just beaming, and we're like, oh yeah, we had a good surf, or like,
That's a real one.
And they got the biggest smiles, you know. I remember this one kid, George, up the coast, and he just persisted to try and stand up. And he was 5 hours straight. I mean, 5 hours straight in the water. Yep. And he was rashed up from because, you know, the boards are soft, and he was rashed up from here to here. And he had the biggest smile on his face. And he goes, you know what, Matua, I didn't think I could surf. I didn't even think I was a good surfer. But you know what? Today I'm a surfer. And he keeps coming back all the time. You know what I mean? Yeah. But yeah, it's the person who's got the biggest smile, and I hardly ever have the biggest smile in the water, because I'm always focused on doing this, or that, you know what I mean, because we've been surfing for so long. But it's those ones that can actually kick back, look around, and embrace, you know, what's happening around, and just take that moment and just have that smile on the dial, as the one who's the best surfer in the water, for sure. Yeah,
that's amazing. Man, I don't know what else we need to cover. There's, I mean, so we've talked about Hikurangi and amazing work there. Actually, we didn't touch too much on that, particularly around the housing, which is quite interesting, because we know we've got a lot of pressures on housing in the region. We know that it's just as bad, if not worse, up the coast, particularly because of the lack of supply and that kind of thing. You want to tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, so earlier on, before I said like everything's interconnected, so when I first went home, like I come from a background of, or I went through school and I pretty much just surfed and played rugby through school, got what I needed to do, go beyond to do more education stuff. But what I ended up getting into, like I went into uni, and I didn't really know what I wanted to do apart from like do some business stuff. But what I ended up coming out the back end of it was housing. Like, and that actually came from a whanaunga here, Arena Huri Hanginui, who works for Te Tairāwhiti. I didn't know I was related to her.
Shout out to Arena.
Yeah. We were in Dunedin at the time. I was at university, surfing mostly, but doing some university, getting that balance right. And she talked about a papakainga back home. Now, I don't know if she was talking about home, but she said a land block, and the land block was the same land block, and I pricked my ear up, and I was like, what are you talking about? Anyway, out of that, I ended up doing I didn't ever think that I'd go on to do like a higher level university stuff, but I ended up doing a master's on papakainga. And so what came out of that was there's baseline needs that we have in our lives, and housing is almost the most baseline. If you have a warm, healthy, secure whare, you can build off that.
Top of Maslow's hierarchy and all that.
If you don't have that, then it's really hard to do anything. Anything at all. It doesn't mean you can't, it just makes it more challenging. So I came back home with that whakaaro. What we realised was that there wasn't a lot of income to be able to afford housing in the space and the mechanisms that were available for housing, and that was pre all this, the crazy increase in house prices and stuff, but that's always been happening. And so what it was really looking like, what are the core things that we need as a people to be well? And so the 3 po that kind of sit around that is if you can house your people, you can feed them, and you can give them meaningful mahi. Now that doesn't necessarily translate to jobs, because mahi can be on the par. Like I'm the one that mans the hangi from when we go and get the wood, when we dig the hole, when we put the kai down, when we wait for it to come up, we put it up and it's done onto perfection. So mahi doesn't have to be a job, but it quite often is. So if you've got those 3 things, you're in a healthy space where you live, you've got kai that sustains you really well, and you're contributing into your community and to your whānau, then all the rest of the stuff becomes accessible, whether it's education or justice or all those things. So those are the 3 things that we work in. So we've got a kaupapa whare ora, which is all about making housing accessible for whānau. For those whānau that the system doesn't work for or want to work for. So that's what we've focused on, and it's been a journey of, I know, probably 10 years. So we're building whare here in Tūranga. We'll be setting up to build in Ruatoria next year to do healthy, low cost and accessible housing. And the accessible bit is really around finance, having a mechanism that's structured around finance. So our whānau aren't boxes, and they're not round, they're all sorts of shapes. So we're designing a mechanism, a finance mechanism that goes around it, so that our whānau can afford to buy homes. And if I look at our rangatahi now, I've got nephews that are in their 20s, early to mid 20s, that last year they bought average houses in Tūranga for $700,000. Now that's a noose that when we were growing up, you know, it's much larger. So how do we lessen that? So that's one thing that we're doing. And then we've also got another kaupapa around kai. So, you know, all the weather events we've had in the last slips are gone, there's no kai. Well, no, there is kai, but most of the kai that whānau rely upon comes no kai. Well, no, there is kai, but most of the kai that whānau rely upon comes through trucks into the likes of the Four Squares, etc. So we've lost a whole lot of food resilience. So we've been building housing resilience and food resilience, and the food resilience is how do we support and develop local whānau to grow on their own whenua to then distribute straight to their own whānau. So it's healthy, it's fresh, and there's some voluntary stuff in there, which is mahi, but it's not paid. And then a whole lot of it is, you know, we're able to keep jobs in the housing space, and like we mill our own trees to make our own timber to put into our houses, so there's mahi there. We've got our farmers, which whānau on their whenua, which we're supporting them to create incomes. We've got whānau doing distribution, all those kind of things. So that's the passion mahi, that's the stuff that...
Yeah, I could dive into 1,000 subjects from that.
That gets me up.
Yeah. We did we were doing some outcome statements during my time at the Trust, and we had one of them which was around affordable housing, and I was like very firm to say, like, if you're talking about affordable housing in today's context, then you've got to eliminate all housing that is done in the traditional fashion, because none of it is affordable anymore. So when we write this statement, be clear whether you're talking about housing in general or affordable housing, because there's a huge difference now.
Yeah, big difference.
Right?
Yeah, and I think a big thing is that the houses that are built traditionally or contemporarily, or like what we see now, they're not generally healthy houses. They look the piece, they might be healthy in about this much of a complete context, because we think intergenerationally, because we have to. Like, we whakapapa for here forever, and like me and my brother, we're responsible for the quality of them building, and we're going to be here forever. Like, even if we stop building them in 5 years' time, those whānau will still be coming to us like, "Bae, your house is falling down, fix it." And so, and it's not just on us, but it's actually on our kids, because when we go and those houses are still standing, it's our whakapapa, it's our mana that's been put into them. So, you know, we don't do 50-year houses, we're building like 100-year houses or 200-year houses, or those are the whakaaro of how we develop that mātauranga. So.
Any last questions here, mate?
Yeah, just one in closing. So how can we get involved? Like, how can Rangatahi join Board Riders Club or come down, or how can people be a part of these opportunities that RUA Bioscience is providing?
Yeah,
Just for our
I
audience.
guess social media these days for Rangatahi, they're always on the pulse. So you can, Gisborne Board Riders is on Instagram, Facebook. If you want to look at getting some Rangatahi to get involved into some Surf for Life stuff, email us at gisborneboardriders@gmail.com, or just get in touch through any of the social media. So if you see any of these comps that we have on, come on down. We've got sections for novice and people that want to have a go and that sort of stuff. I think you guys are going to be covering some of our events. So don't be shy. Come on down and see what it's all about.
Main.
Yeah, I think through Hukarang Enterprises and RUA Bioscience, every year we run a whole lot of scholarships and stuff, and that gets put out to all the schools in region. All the secondary schools get that, so those tunnels will go out probably February, March, maybe April next year for the year. And I think probably one of the biggest things, and it kind of touches on, like, if you think that you're interested in something, just reach out as Rangatahi. And it's been one of the things that I've kind of, we've got a few grey hairs now, so we're not Rangatahi anymore, but one of the best things that's always served myself is, like, if you go and ask someone, that's probably 90% of the challenge. Because if someone shows initiative, then you're like, you know what? If that's probably the biggest thing. Like, you don't have to have the skills, you don't have to be able to surf, you don't have to have skills in anything, but if you've got the attitude, then that's 90% of what employers are looking for. And it's not so much just about employers or opportunities, it's just like if you're interested in housing or kai or surfing or medicinal cannabis, and that's just in our realms, but just reach out. And I can guarantee you'll be like, this person's got a whole, I'm gonna, if you reached out and it got to me through social media or whatever, I'll just be like, you need to speak to this person, and I'll hook you up with somebody. And if I don't know, because of enthusiasm, I'll go and find someone who will know. And because it only takes, like, as you get older, you kind of get networks and all that kind of stuff. Like, just we'll do what we can, because that's what we do.
Awesome. Hey, look, it sounds like the region's going to be left in a better state because of both your initiatives, and it's amazing to think that we all wanted to get out of region when we were young, right? Because there wasn't a lot on the horizon for us here. All coming back and trying to make a new horizon is really an awesome opportunity for future generations. I'm proud of what you're both doing. It's a choice.
Kia ora, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you for joining us here at Tangata. Thank you to our guests. Awesome. Main mahi. Ka kite from us.
Ka kite.
Tukuna te wairua kia rere ki ngā taumata, kia arahi i a mātou mahi, me tā mātou whai i ngā tikanga a rātou mā. Kia mau, kia ita, kia korea e ngaro, kia pupuri, kia whakamaua, kia tīnā, tīnā. Haumie, hui e,